Why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable men even though I've done the internal work? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Love Chat with the Love Twins of 2026. It feels like we've been away for a while, and we are back and stronger than ever. And as we step into 2026, we want you to know that we are deeply committed to bringing you conversations and powerful coaching and training that actually matter. So we're not talking about trends. We're not talking about surface level dating advice that sounds good, but changes nothing, or it keeps you busy instead of being actually fulfilled. And we're also not talking about the kind of advice that leaves your love life exactly where it's been. We're actually not talking about advice at all. We're talking about real coaching and real content that answers the questions women like you are asking, often quietly, often late at night, and it keeps you up. And it's the conversations or the questions that no one's really talking about honestly. And we are going to bring that level of honesty to you. So, in fact, when we look at what successful, high achieving women are actually searching for right now, the themes become crystal clear. Women are asking questions like, why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable men even though I've done the internal work? Why does this keep happening to me? Why do I feel like dating becomes harder the more successful I become? Or how do I find love without losing myself, losing my independence, losing everything that I've built for myself and created for myself? How do I stop repeating the same relational patterns over and over again? What am I missing when it comes to love? These are all the questions that successful women are asking themselves. And when you listen to those questions, what becomes really clear is that there's something outdated about the way that love has been taught to powerful women, and we're bringing it to current. We're bringing it to current. So everything we're bringing you in 2026, from these love chats, all of our trainings, the events that we're going to be offering, are designed to answer those questions, the real questions, the ones that actually move the needle in love. And today's conversation is about that commitment, because this isn't about doing more, and it's not about trying harder. It really is about understanding what's quietly shaping your love life right now so that you can consciously choose something else, something different, something better for yourself. There's a very specific reason this conversation tends to land right now. After the holidays, after the noise settles, after life quiets down a bit, and after the distractions fade, what starts to happen is what you've been tolerating in love becomes impossible to ignore. And it isn't always obvious what's there in the background. It's not always a dramatic heartbreak. It's not always a chaos. It's patterns. Patterns that are operating in the background, like, why do the same kind of men keep showing up in your online profile inbox or at an event that you're at? Why do you keep attracting and being attracted to the same kind of person? Or what are the same emotional dynamics that keep being created in your relationships? And I'm not just talking about dating and romantic relationships. I'm talking about all relationships, because the kind of dynamics that show up in your romantic relationships also show up in other relationships. It's just that in romantic relationships, they tend to amplify, because the closer you are to someone, the more familiar you feel with them. And sometimes you behave in ways that aren't effective to increase intimacy, to increase connection and love. So those dating dynamics that create conflicts and breakdowns in your romantic relationships, your friendships, your dating lives, they keep showing up because of what's running in the background. The same almost relationships or pseudo relationships or situationships keep showing up, or stalled connections. It starts, to look like it's flowing and then it just gets stalled. Or maybe it's the pattern of going into long stretches of being too busy, to deal with dating, to be in a romantic relationship. And what makes this especially confronting for women like you and me is that you're not unaware. You have done your internal work. You are an intelligent woman. You reflect, and you're intentional about the areas in your life that are really important to you. You're used to getting results. So when love isn't moving the way you want it to, it doesn't just feel confusing, it feels irritating. There's this quiet thought that creeps in. Why do I keep ending up here when I know better? Why do I keep doing that when I know better? And that's what today is about. Because this conversation is not about fixing yourself. Actually, none of the conversations we ever have or ever have had are about fixing yourself. It's not about that. It's about understanding what's actually running your love life right now so that you can consciously choose something else in 2026. Something else. Because here's a truth that so many women don't realize until years pass. Love doesn't reset because the calendar does. And what I mean by that is January 1st doesn't create a new love life. That's not what creates a new love life. Your identity, your standards, your values, the skills that you have, and your emotional availability, the mentorship you have, knowing what steps to take and in what order, that is what creates a new love life. And it starts internally, because if nothing changes internally, then externally, the same patterns continue. It's like different faces, same experiences. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it feels like the same thing keeps repeating over and over again. And that's why today's love chat is about redefining love or repeating the past. Because whether you realize it or not, your love life will move forward in 2026. It's going to keep moving. The only question is whether it will be intentional or by default. Is it going to be an intentional creation or just what you get? So here's where we're going to start. I'm going to start with two of the biggest myths that we've heard over the many, many years that we've been doing this work from successful women. And I'm not here to, make fun of anybody's beliefs, but I want you to know these are myths. One is, I don't need a vision for love. I'll know it when I see it. Well, if you don't have a vision, how are you going to know when you see it? How are you going to know what it is? So that's the first myth. The second myth is, I'll pray about it or I'll meditate on it and it will just happen. Now, would you ever do that in business? Would you ever do that in your career? Would you just say, I'm going to meditate, pray on it, and it's just going to happen? Or I'll recognize it when I see it with absolutely no vision of what it's going to look like? No, you wouldn't do that in business. So why do we think that is going to work when it comes to love? In business, you don't just wing it. You have a vision. You are clear about where you're headed, and then your calendar, your metrics, your mentors, the structures that you create, all of those hold you accountable. And it's not just about creating goals. It goes deeper than that, because you create a goal on top of something that's not real, and it's not going to come to fruition. So I'm not just talking about writing a whole bunch of goals down. So in business, it's your vision, it's that clarity, it's the metrics, it's what you have in your calendar, it's the mentors that you choose, it's the structures that you have that hold you accountable. Now, if you don't have that, then what shows up is whatever happens by default. And the same goes for love. Having no love vision doesn't mean you're neutral. It doesn't mean you're just being creative. It means default. You will get what shows up by default. And here's the thing about default. It always pulls you back to what's familiar, not what's aligned, what's familiar. And that's why it looks like the past keeps repeating itself. So even when you know better, you will still tolerate emotional unavailability in yourself and in others. You'll still rationalize inconsistency, make up excuses. You'll stay longer than you should. I'm going to give you a great example of why this mentorship is so important, because you're either going to create something or you're going to go into default. There's this client that I've been communicating with today, and I just wanted to check in on her because she's been in a very long-term relationship and, over 5 years. And what she started to realize working with us is this was not fulfilling for her. And there was some settling going on. And through the coaching and mentoring, she got the courage to walk away from something that wasn't aligned for her. It wasn't an aligned love. Now, that takes a lot of courage to do that. And it's because of the coaching and the mentorship and the structures that she received, the heart work, that internal work that gets you really clear on, is this it for me or not, without going into rationalization or toleration or making up excuses. And so she had the courage to be able to walk away from that. And she also started dating again. So she's been in a long-term relationship. And now she's learning how to date in a different age, in a different phase in her life. It's been a while since she's done it, and she's not done it effectively in the past. So she starts dating some new guys, and one in particular was one she really liked. And it was through a coaching conversation that we had right before the holidays started that it became clear. And this is why having a coach that knows how to pick up on the things that are important and can listen to you really what you're saying and what's behind what you're saying, and also knows what to listen and look for, is so important, which is what Gladys and I bring to everything that we do and every client that we coach. And as I was listening to her share about this person, it was very clear to me that there was something that was going on that wasn't aligned with what she said she wanted, and that there was a pattern, some patterns are showing up that look like addiction. And so we had a very honest conversation about that. No judgment, just real honesty. And then also I was able to coach her on specifically what there was to look at internally, look at externally, what to ask, and how she can become very clear about whether or not there was an actual addiction showing up. And so I checked in with her today just to see how she is after the holidays. And she said, I can't believe how blind I was. It is so clear this person has a huge addiction, and I didn't see it, and I wouldn't have seen it. And so when the patterns are running and you don't have a clear vision and you don't have clear guidance, what happens is you can miss what's really important. And then you spend a lot of time and energy on somebody who isn't a match. So how great news is it for her that although she had to let go of somebody, she broke up with him. She said, I told him I'm not going to see him anymore because it's not aligned with what I really want. How great of news is that for her, that she's not going to find this out 6 months in, a year in, 3 years in, and that she's being honest with herself. So default will always pull you back to what's familiar. By the way, this isn't the first time this has happened to this particular person. So it's going to pull you back to what's familiar, not what's aligned. And that's why it's so important to have a clear vision and clear guidance that leads you in the right direction. Now, what's familiar is going to show up. That default is going to pull you back into the familiar, not because that's what you want. Clearly, it's not what you want. It's because without a declared, claimed, and clear vision, your nervous system is going to choose what it recognizes. And if what it's recognized is heartache, if what it's recognized is hard, if what is recognized is settling, that's what it's going to go for. Because familiar feels safe, even when it's unsatisfying, even when it's unfulfilling, and even when it's truly not emotionally healthy or safe for you. And this is why awareness alone doesn't change your love life. Awareness alone doesn't change anything. It's good to know, but it's not going to change anything. What changes something is having clarity, having commitment, and having guidance on what there is to look for, what steps are to take, what order to take them in, that are going to lead you to having the results and the experience that you truly want. That's what's going to change everything. So when you don't consciously define what you are available for now, your past will do the choosing for you. Your past will do the choosing for you. So I want to go a little bit deeper with you on this because this is a very, very important conversation. It's why we picked it as the first conversation for 2026. So going a little bit deeper, every one of us carries what we call emotional agreements. So what are emotional agreements? They are the quiet conclusions you made up early in life. Very often you made them up without even realizing you were doing it. And it could be an agreement like, I have to be strong to be loved. Or if I need too much, I'm going to end up alone. So don't ask for a lot. Men don't really show up for the long term. They're here and then they're gone. Love is going to require compromise. It's going to cost me everything. Not like a compromise that can work out for both of us, but it's going to cost me everything. I'm going to lose something in love. Now, you may want to start thinking about what are some of your emotional agreements that are there. If you look, and this is why having the guidance is so important, if you look, you'll see it. Otherwise, it becomes default. So it's so important to know that you don't consciously believe this, and they're still operating in the background. So it's not a conscious thing, it's a subconscious thing. And here's the key. These emotional agreements, whether they're conscious or subconscious, they don't allow you to attract from your desire. And here's why. Because your agreements will override the desire. Those emotional agreements, those long-held emotional subconscious or conscious agreements will override desire. Why? Because it's going to go for what feels familiar. So this is important. Unless those agreements are consciously healed and released, and new ones, empowered ones are created, they will keep selecting for you. And they'll keep selecting emotionally unavailable men. They'll keep selecting men who admire you but won't commit to you. They'll keep choosing dynamics where you're leading, where you're managing, where you're waiting to be chosen, waiting for him to show up, where you keep dating his potential. And that's going to leave you feeling exhausted. It's almost like I don't even want to date or be in a relationship because this just feels so inefficient and so draining. Because the old emotional agreements are running in the background and they keep choosing the same thing for you. So this is why, and this is so important, changing your mindset isn't enough. Your entire system has to be recalibrated. So it's not just your mindset, it's a recalibration. And this is why I said just writing new goals isn't going to work, because if you write a goal on top of, I can't speak up because it's not safe, then now you're going to speak up. What's going to happen is you're going to speak up and it's going to sound weird. It's going to feel very uncomfortable. So your power is not going to be present. And you may speak up in a way that isn't effective. Now you're yelling, now you're pressuring, now you're controlling. because you haven't healed that and resolved that emotional agreement and created something that's actually new and authentic to who you are now, not who you were then. So changing your mindset isn't enough. The recalibration of the entire system is what's required. And until it is, your love life keeps repeating itself on a loop. Little subtler, but still in confusing ways. Now, all of this is important to get. And I hope you're allowing this to land in your heart, really land in your heart, not just your head. And this is a part that a lot of women have not. They've never been taught this. Choosing your future relationship doesn't mean visualizing harder or longer, and it doesn't mean forcing timelines. What it means is you decide who you are being before the relationship arrives. So I'm going to say this in a different way so that it really does get to fall into your heart. What that means, choosing who you're being before the relationship arrives, means that you decide what you will and will not tolerate from yourself, from others. You decide how available you are. See, you can't say, I want an honest relationship when you're not being honest with yourself or other people. You can't say, I want open communication when you're holding back. It doesn't work like that. That's why it feels hard. It feels confusing. It feels, mismatched, because it is. So when you decide who you're being, then you get to decide how available you are for something, someone, what you are available for, what dynamics you will disengage from early, like the client that I talked to you about before. Like, she was not going to stay 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 more years with somebody not being able to see something because she had somebody who helped her see it and she was willing to tell herself the truth. You also get to decide, when you choose who you're being, what kind of love your nervous system is now calibrated for. And when you do this, something very powerful happens. And we hear all of our clients who are now in amazing relationships, but that once felt like a dream and they're actually living it. You stop feeling like you're auditioning for the role of someone's girlfriend or somebody's wife. You stop that. That's very uncomfortable. And that's the part that's exhausting. You're not auditioning for a role. You're actually choosing what's aligned based on who you're being. You stop explaining and stop making excuses for inappropriate behavior from yourself or others, telling the truth. And you stop waiting for clarity from someone outside of you, including men who don't have clarity themselves. All of that comes to an end. Because aligned love is not going to happen by chance. It doesn't arrive by chance. It arrives when your eternal choices make anything that's not aligned with that incompatible. So you get very clear on who you're being and what you value and what you want to experience, and you can see, experience, recognize, and then take actions to step towards what is aligned and step away from what's not. And that's what changes everything. And here's what I want you to hear so clearly. If something in you right now is recognizing yourself in this conversation, it is not coincidence. It's readiness. And you want to pay attention to that readiness. It's your readiness to stop letting default patterns run your love life. The readiness to stop hoping and wishing that awareness will eventually turn to change, because it won't. And it's the readiness to choose your next chapter before it chooses you. And that's why we created Love Vision 2026. Love Vision 2026 is a 3-day immersive experience happening January 30th through February 1st, 2026. Now, this 3-day event is not a motivational event. And it's not going to provide you with surface level dating advice, tips and tricks. That's not what we're about. Our work isn't about that. This event is where high achieving women come to dismantle the emotional patterns that have quietly shaped their love lives. It's where you consciously redefine your standards, your boundaries, which you are and are not available for. And it's where high achieving women who are really committed to experiencing amazing love in 2026 come to create a clear, embodied vision for love that actually changes, shifts, transform what they attract into their life. So women don't leave this event hoping for something better. They leave aligned with it. So if you're done repeating patterns that aren't working, if you're done tolerating behavior that is not aligned with what you really hold yourself to and what you want to experience with a partner, and if you're done waiting for love to feel easier and you're ready to actually make it easier, then this is where your next chapter begins. All right. This is the work that will ensure that 2026 doesn't look like 2025, doesn't look like 2023, 2020, and beyond that with a different calendar. This will ensure that 2026 looks like nothing you've ever experienced before in love. And we cannot wait to see you there. So click on the link and register now. Take an action that matches your readiness. Take an action that matches what you're really committed to. This is the moment to do that, right here and right now. Because remember, aligned love doesn't arrive by chance. It arrives when your choices are compatible with what you say you're committed to. So we can't wait to see what we create together in Love Vision 2026. This new year is going to be like no other. And we are so happy that we get to be a part of it with you. So we'll see you at Love Vision 2026. And until our hearts meet again, always remember that you are loved. Goodbye for now.